We are learning more this morning about Ray Clark, the lab technician who has been held now on $3 million bond for the murder of Yale student Annie Le.
Officials are calling this a situation of workplace violence. Some who knew him say he was rigid about the rules and often clashed with researchers at the lab. But so far, police are giving few details, and they say Ray Clark is not talking at all. Our David Muir is outside the prison where Clark is being held in Suffield, Connecticut. David?
Robin, Diane, good morning to you. And Raymond Clark is, in fact, in this maximum security prison behind me. We're told in solitary confinement this morning. This, as we learned, the DNA evidence against Clark could very well be mounting. And as some of his colleagues from that Yale research laboratory come forward, saying their co-worker could at times be controlling. With his hands cuffed behind his back and chains around his ankles, 24-year-old Raymond Clark was in a New Haven courtroom where he was arraigned for the murder of Annie Le. Just hours earlier, FBI agents had raced up the back stairs of a motel and straight to room 214, where Clark and his father had spent the night. And this morning, New York's Daily News is reporting the DNA evidence is mounting in this case, that Raymond Clark's DNA was found on Annie Le's clothing and body, and that Le's DNA was found on Clark's clothing and body, a sign of a struggle, and reportedly evidence that puts Clark in the room with Annie Le. There was also a green pen left at the scene that has been traced back to Raymond Clark. And though the police chief in New Haven has not confirmed the DNA evidence, renowned forensics expert Dr. Henry Lee, who served as state police commissioner here, says there's no question there's been a DNA match in this case. When you heard of that arrest this morning,
yes,
did that say to you right away there must have been a DNA match?
Yes, I know DNA had a match, and of course it's a relief. This case is a sad case. A young lady was murdered.
And Dr. Lee also points to those access cards swiped to get from room to room inside that Yale laboratory building. Computer records reportedly show Annie Le entered a small room off of a lab in the basement and then never used her card again. The Hartford Courant is reporting that Raymond Clark swiped his way into that room too, and that Raymond Clark would have been the last person to see her alive. And Raymond Clark's co-workers have now begun to come forward, telling police Clark was a control freak who viewed the lab and the mice as his territory. And ABC News has learned that Clark had expressed his frustration over dirty mice cages to Annie Le before in a text message or an email, but authorities have not shared a motive, only saying that Le and Clark did not have a romantic relationship. Two of Raymond Clark's high school friends told me that he was a popular baseball and football player, friendly, but they are aware of the reported evidence.
When you hear about the amount of evidence now,
I'm torn. It's like I think so highly of Ray, and then to think of him doing something like that is, you know, I don't know.
Hard to reconcile.
Yeah.
Raymond Clark's friends who played softball with him the day Annie Le's body disappeared said he seemed perfectly normal.
Showed up early as usual, showed up with his fiance, his parents, same ritual before games, you know, warm up, crack a couple jokes, talk about what happened in sports, you know, that's about it.
We've also learned that softball game, the fair that Ray Clark then attended, the visits to his parents' house in recent days were all being followed. There was heavy surveillance even before any talk of DNA evidence, all because of the information they were able to glean from those swipe cards that actually put Raymond Clark and Annie Le in the same parts of that building, that room off of the lab, very key in the basement, Robin.
And David, as you know, the arrest warrant has not been made public, which is a bit unusual, but there may be a reason for that?
Yeah, there is speculation. There's been a report here locally that perhaps that could be because there are more arrests coming. But I've got to tell you, the police chief maintains that he believes there was just one killer in this case. And as we know, Raymond Clark's fiance, his sister and brother-in-law also worked in that lab. But when asked, the police chief said he had no reason to believe that any of them knew of this crime. So we'll continue to watch it, Rob.
And the questions continue. All right, David Muir, thanks so much.